We don't love the quarterbacks.
Not a quarterback draft.
Like, it's just not a quarterback class that you want to put your arms around.
You know, personally, I believe, hey, not as great of a quarterback class.
Because there were so many question marks with the top two guys, with Cam and Shedeur. If you're talking about two guys that you have to draft in the top, I don't know, one guy in the top 5, the other guy in the top 12.
The Cam Ward narrative is absurd. I'm sure if you've been watching any football media on the mainstream, you have heard that this is a weak quarterback draft, or that guys like Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders wouldn't be first rounders in previous drafts. I'm not going to touch the Shedeur thing. I need to dive more into the All-22 film to really see it. But with Cam Ward, immediately, I watched a ton of games of him this year, and what I saw was a poised quarterback, a supremely poised quarterback with ice in his veins, who can improvise and who has elite arm talent. And this idea that he is not worthy of being a top 5 pick in this draft, that would be looked at as a reach, is crazy. I think, and I know for a fact, and something that I've talked about on this channel since it started in the beginning, is that sports media people are very uneducated. They don't have the time, bandwidth, or knowledge to actually dive in and watch the tape, to really watch all these games, because they're covering multiple sports and every team and all of the top people. So they hear what draft scouts say and they run with that and overblow it. Like, I don't think a guy like Daniel Jeremiah actually thinks that Cam Ward isn't talented, but when that gets trickled all the way down through all the different Fox sports shows and all these other shows, it leaves the regular viewer with this sense that these guys aren't that good. And Cam Ward is extremely talented. So I want to focus on this idea that he wouldn't be a first rounder in previous drafts. I want to ask you, what about him right now, at the top of this conversation, what makes him not a first round talent? Is it his arm talent? That's insane. He has elite arm talent. His arm is quick as a whip. He can hit all the different arm angles. Is it his poise? Absolutely not. His poise, I think his confidence in the pocket is some of the best I have ever seen from a college quarterback. Like, the confidence and calmness he has in the pocket is wild to watch, especially when everything is on the line. Is it his size? No, he's 6'2", 220 pounds. He's basically the same size as Pat Mahomes. No, he's not 6'4", he's not 6'5", but he is a big dude. Is it his stats? No, he threw 39 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, over 4,000 yards at Miami. His best targets were Xavier Restrepo and Elijah Arroyo, tight end, slot wide receiver. He's not coming out of Bama with a first-round talent wide receiver, or multiple first-round talent wide receivers, and multiple first-round talent offensive linemen and running backs. Is it the competition he played against? No. He's played in the ACC. What you'll hear a lot of people say, and a lot of Browns fans in general, because Cleveland is in position to draft Cam Ward or the Titans, and this is primarily a Browns channel. If you're not a Browns fan, welcome, join, stay, have a drink, stay a while. But it's that they say he improvises too much during plays. Like, he'll hold on to the ball too long. He'll do X, Y, and Z outside of the scheme. Name one great college quarterback who did not do those things, who sometimes held on to the ball too long, who sometimes improvised too much. All that tells me is he has the ability to do that. And as Daniel Jeremiah said, great, very well-respected NFL draft scout, said that I'd rather have a guy who is overly aggressive, who holds onto the ball too long, and who is a little too confident in his arm talent than someone who's trigger shy and afraid to be aggressive.
He's got one you've got to rein in a little bit, but he's really, athletic, twitchy, can make a lot of big time throws, but there's some arrogance as a thrower at times where we can kind of reel that in, which, given my druthers, I'd much rather be able to try and reel in an aggressive player than to try and stall aggressiveness in a passive player.
And I fully agree with that idea. You want the guy with the confidence who you have to rein in. So this idea of he plays outside of the scheme, he holds on to the ball too long, all I see there is a playmaker. And yes, you have to dial it back. You'll have to learn to play within a system. That is without a doubt. But to have that ability is just a plus because he's demonstrated that he can do it now. So now back to this idea, him not being a first rounder in other drafts. We've already seen he has the size, he has the arm talent, he has the playmaking ability, he has the ability to improvise, he can hit all of the throws. Some of these throws that he's making are just insane. The windows, the touch that he's using to float the ball into these tight spaces. Then the scrambling ability when everything comes to a crumble. When the offensive line gives out, he can take off and he can finish plays on his feet. And I did a 28-minute all 22 film breakdown of Cam Ward. I'll link it below so you can check it out. We're not going to get into all that now, but what I said in that video is that he is a pass first dual threat quarterback. And I think that that's the perfect example of guys like him, guys like Pat Mahomes. And here's the issue. When I say that, people are like, he's not going to be Pat Mahomes. Guys, I'm not saying he is. I'm saying the play style and the ability is right there. The confidence, the poise, the ability to hit all the different arm angles, and the ability to take off and to break down pass rushers' angles. Even though you're not the fastest guy, they have a great understanding of where they are and where their defenders are coming from so they can set themselves up to make big plays with their feet. That is a big Pat Mahomes thing. So if Cam Ward is not a first-round talent in other drafts, what made Zach Wilson a first-round talent coming out of BYU? What made Anthony Richardson a first-round talent coming out of Florida? What made Josh Allen a first-round talent coming out of Wyoming? And we might be looking at this, especially in the case of Josh Allen, in the sense it was like, well, they had great size and enormous arms that were going to be able to shape them into these all-time players. It's like, that is a big jump from size to now being a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. There's clearly other things within his play style, within his playmaking ability that made him attractive to be a first round pick. But it's like Paxton Lynch, those are other big body guys with big arms who never really worked out. So Josh Allen passed for 1,812 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, and he was taken 7th overall. Anthony Richardson passed for a little over 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. He was taken 4th overall. And most recently, JJ McCarthy, coming out of Michigan on that extremely all-time loaded roster, who won the national championship, passed for just over 2,991 yards, 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and he was taken 10th overall. What is it about that college career? All of those stat lines, the competition they played, the results they had, the experience they had, that makes them these no doubt, no question first-round quarterbacks. What makes JJ McCarthy, and this is the big one that they say, last year, Cam Ward would have been the 5th quarterback taken, and he would have gone after JJ McCarthy. What about his season, his stat line, would make him more attractive? Because we can't say, oh, well, he won the national championship. The guy passed for like 130 yards in the national championship, and that might be wrong. I'll put the right stats up, but didn't have to do anything. They just ran the ball. They mauled guys with their offensive line, with Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards. Like, they were stacked across the board, and their defense was outstanding. If we're looking at purely quarterback to quarterback, Cam Ward is the obvious better prospect. It's insane to me. And Cam Ward is a major chip on the shoulder guy. This is the other thing that we're not taking into account here. He had to play at Incarnate Word. Then he went to Washington State. Then he went to Miami. He has gone to a different place every year of his college career, and he has excelled. He has done a very good job. He has led his teams. He's captured their belief in him, and he has put numbers up. And this is also a guy who ran the wing T in high school, who averaged like 7 throws per game and had to work his way up. So he has a massive chip on his shoulder. I just think when you factor in the arm talent, the size, the playmaking ability, all these things, and then the only area that we have to fight back against are, one, the talking head saying, well, I don't think he would have been in the top 4 quarterbacks taken last year. That plus the fact that he holds on to the ball too long sometimes and tries to make too many plays is like, that's our argument in saying that he's not a first round talent, that he wouldn't have been a first rounder, and that he isn't worthy of being a top 3 pick this season. It's ridiculous. And one more example here. How about Trey Lance? Yes, in his junior year, 28 touchdowns, no interceptions. They win the national championship undefeated. That's at North Dakota State. It's like Carson Wentz. How did that turn out at the end after his injury, after everything that went down? He was worthy of going 3rd overall for the 49ers to trade up and get that guy. He played 1 game in his COVID season because everything got delayed, whatever. Guy plays 1 game his final season and then goes 3rd overall. And we're sitting here saying that Cam Ward is not worthy of being a top 3 pick, or that he wouldn't have been one of the top guys taken in other drafts. It's ridiculous. And this is a little bit of a ramble, but it just drives me nuts that people run with these statements that it's a weak draft year for quarterbacks. Cam Ward, I don't know. Like, he's got a lot of talent. Open your eyes. Watch the tape. It is clear as day that this guy can ball. I'm not saying he's going to come out and he's going to work out. Like, the hit rate on quarterbacks is extremely low. We've seen some guys come out, they make the playoffs immediately, and they just fall off as time goes on. Like, look no further than RG3. It happens with guys. Jaden Daniels might be another RG3. Goes out, has the greatest rookie season for a quarterback ever, NFC Championship appearance. He could fall off. We don't know. This takes 10 years to see if they were a hit or not. Some guys are later bloomers. So I'm not sitting here being like Cam Ward is a definite hit. I'm just saying relative to the other prospects with their resumes coming out of college, it is insane to think that he is not on the same level or better than a lot of those guys who did a lot less in college. So I appreciate you guys watching. This has been the Optimistic Fan Club. If you want to support, this is a little bit different, but my brand Pumpkinhead, these are just some fun t-shirts we do. You can buy these over at pumpkinhead.shop. We have that one, and we also got this one, which might be a little bit more for the football heads here. That's the front. Here's the back, leaning on the goalpost there. You can check those out. I'll also link that below. But check out that, buy one if you liked and you want to support that little growing brand. And also you can check out the full 28-minute breakdown of Cam Ward with all 22 film, all that stuff over on Patreon. I really think that he's going to be a good player. I think that he's going to be a good player. I don't know what that means in terms of his long-term success, but I see a good player there. I think we're overcomplicating this. Don't buy into the mainstream and all these little talking points that they parrot. So thank you guys for watching. We will see you in the next one.